if you want to look at the worst that people have done in history, you can find religious examples and you can find atheist examples. I don't think Mao Zedong's China during the Cultural Revolution as an atheist regime or Stalin's Russia are great examples of morality either. People have done some shocking things in human history, sometimes in the name of religion, sometimes in the name of whatever other division they could find. But to say that that's an argument against religion, I don't think matches the level of logic that Richard's demanding of everyone else.
Can I just interrupt you there, because I think what was raised by Tony Burke was obviously the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, which does provide a kind of moral template for a lot of people. I mean, turn the other cheek, love your enemy as yourself, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who are persecuted because they stand up for what's right, etc. The meek shall inherit the earth. Those are principles you could take as a humanist as moral principles, are they not?
I'm delighted to cherry-pick those. Jesus said some wonderful things, and the Sermon on the Mount is terrific. Modern morality goes back to that and says, yes, that'll do, that's very good. The Mao Zedong point, of course, is ridiculous.
Every religious war's not, come on.
No, the difference is this: we are not counting up the number of good things and bad things that have been done by people who happen to be religious or who happen to be atheist. We're looking at whether there are religious or atheistic motives for doing good or bad things. Is there a logical pathway that leads from religious faith to doing bad things? Sure as hell there is. Is there a logical pathway that leads from atheism to doing bad things? No, you cannot make a logical pathway that way. Nobody would ever say, because I'm an atheist, I'm going to kill somebody. You could very well say, because I am a Christian, I'm going to go and kill Muslims. Because I'm a Muslim, I'm going to go and kill Christians. This is something that's happened throughout history.
Walking a spiritual path is really to be grounded. And if you're not grounded, I mean, you must remember and ask yourself the question, why am I here?
In a human body.
Yeah. It's because we have to work here. And that's we have to develop heaven on earth. And you cannot do that if you're up in heaven. You have to go down there and really open it up here.
You have a dream of doing something with your art. What message do you want your art to give to people?
I want people to find hope in my work. I want my art to draw people's attention to God.
It was a time where I just let myself go, and somehow this place came about, and I just remembered that this was the place I used to visit as a child.
There is life after death. Yeah.
Let's go to, sorry?
There is life after death.
Well, that's what a lot of people I know think, and are wondering a lot more, I think, after watching this show. Tell me about this final painting.
This is actually called I Am, and it was one of the most hardest painting that I've ever done. I think it's because based on the question of who are we, why are we here, and what's this place about?
This took 6.5 months to paint?
6.5 months, and I think it's because I just wanted to capture that moment of self-realization of who we are and why are we here, and that's when I wanted to capture this painting, because I know that everybody's so, in my opinion, everybody's perfect. Everybody is irreplaceable and unique, and I want people to get inspired by looking at this painting.
His love is so overwhelming, so powerful. It's, I can't describe it, that I'm constantly running and hiding. And he's constantly saying to me, why are you hiding from me? And yet I shouldn't be.
Is that running and hiding from the sheer overwhelming brightness of the light? What is it that you're
beyond that?
Beyond that.
It's
I'm
beyond that.
I'm grasping for metaphors.
I'm trying to, in a sense, even explain it. Your soul trembles, because your soul is that speck of light of God. It's part of God. So it trembles as soon as God comes near, or as soon as God touches you with that love.
Right, right.
It touches your soul, and the human part of your body just, how can I say it, like in one sense falls asunder. It's doing all strange things. What's happening? It's so overpowering, so overwhelming, and yet so wonderful.
Yes.
It's incredible.
So the passage that I love the most and that has been quoted the most, I think, from you, is our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. So when you wrote that, that came from what part of yourself that you knew that?
Well, remember, this book is a reflection on the principles in the Course in Miracles, so I can't take credit for what excites people about this book or what excites people about that. That we are more afraid of our light than our darkness didn't come from me. That's from A Course in Miracles, and that's what I was talking about, that we have more fear of how powerful and light we are. And part of that is this fear that we might offend somebody else, that somehow if I have, that you have less, rather than realizing that if I'm living in the light of my own true being, it actually subconsciously liberates you to live from the light of your true being. You know, because there aren't just like, the Course in Miracles talks about how what's true in the material world is the exact opposite of what's true in the spiritual world. So in the material world, there are only so many pieces of the pie. If I have a piece of the pie, you have less.
Right.
But in the spiritual world, the more I'm able to actualize, and that's what enlightenment is, it's self-actualization.
Life is a startling and wondrous experience. And eventually, I think we're going to discover that God is unfolding through the life of our consciousness and our self-consciousness, and is not a parent figure up in the sky.
With Darwin, he believed that we evolved as a species because we have the capacity to love and empathise. Now, other species have this great agility and speed and strength and great fangs and things. Human beings don't have that necessarily, but we have this ability to cooperate and to empathise. And Darwin believed this was a very important factor in our evolution. But unfortunately, the bits of Darwin's work that we get to hear about are survival of the fittest. And when we hear about that, it's all, we behave in selfish ways. It's all about me, 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 and we don't think so much of other people. But when we think, if we believe and live from the perspective that we are all interconnected, we behave in very different ways to each other as well.
What is the soul?
For me, it's the truth of who we are, the light, the love which is within us. It goes by different names, but the truth of us. Michelangelo said when he got a statue that he would go to the quarry and get a big piece of marble. And the way he imagined it, God had already created the statue. And his job was just to get rid of the excess marble. So that's what we're like. Inside is the being that God has already created. Some call it the Christ, the Buddha mind, the Shekinah, the light, the soul. And our job is to get rid of this excess, useless fear, thought forms of the world that actually hide the light of the soul.
What is your definition of God?
An all-encompassing love that is the source of all, the reality of all, and the being through which I am.
I want to show you something, Aki.
What is this?
Read.
All life is born of Gaia, and each life has a spirit. Each new spirit is housed in a physical body. Doctor.
Go on.
Through their experiences on Earth, each spirit matures and grows. When the physical body dies, the mature spirit, enriched by its life on Earth, returns to Gaia, bringing with it the experiences, enabling Gaia to live and grow.
In terms of paradigm shift, we're shifting from regarding the universe as essentially non-living or dead at the foundations to fundamentally and uniquely alive. In other words, we're learning how to live within a living universe. And this is not a new idea. More than 2,000 years ago, Plato said the universe is a single living creature that encompasses all living creatures within it. And in the last 300 years or so, we've forgotten that wisdom. And with pioneers like Stan, as well as Irvin, we're recovering that wisdom that the universe is in fact itself alive. And we're learning how to bring our aliveness into alignment and harmony with the aliveness of a larger living universe. So that's what that brings for me.
And so following their near-death experience, people behave in very different ways towards other people, but also they have this knowledge of or insight into how we are impacting on the planet itself. And many people actually begin to adopt very eco-friendly behaviour as well. So can you imagine if everyone sort of had this new idea and this new way of thinking, how different our world would be?
There are a lot of wonderful things happening. You know, we are looking very often, we tend to look at what's not working and all the huge problems that we have. And if you read the newspapers, you only see what's going wrong and how terrible the world is. And there's no news of good things that are happening. There's a lot of young people, and what I said in my talk, you know, there's a lot of young people who are naturally connected with the oneness of all life. And that's very hopeful. And I have grandchildren now, and they are so much more alert than sometimes with other babies, let's say. But generations coming are showing that the world is changing.
So will you tell me about them?
About what?
About the spirits you've collected.
I was infected by a phantom during an experiment. So the first spirit wave was me. The second was a fish.
A fish?
The third was a deer I found in a wildlife preserve outside Moscow. The fourth was a bird. The fifth was a little girl, dying in a hospital emergency room. I retrieved the sample in time, but I told her everything had a spirit. Dogs, cats, trees, little girls, even the earth. I told her that she wasn't dying, just returning to the earth spirit, to Gaia. She told me that she was ready to die. She said I didn't have to make up stories to make her feel better. Only 7 years old and ready to die.
I'm sorry.
I have work to do. I have to find the 7th and 8th spirits. Don't, please. You don't believe any of this, do you?
I just don't know, Aki.
Spirituality emerges spontaneously, and it's a spirituality which is non-denominational, which is all-encompassing, is universal, unlike what you find in the organized religions. Joseph Campbell used to say, a useful deity has to be transparent for the transcendent. It points to the transcendent, but is not made opaque and worshipped. Because what happens then, you unite a certain group of people who have that same perspective and want to worship that way, but you automatically divide the world. See, we are Christians, you are pagans, we are Muslims, you are Christians, we are Jews, you are Goyim, and even within the religions you have a split. Centuries of bloodshed between Protestants and Catholics and Sunnis and Shiites. So that's, organized religions are not going to help in the world, but this spirituality would. This is what you find in the mystical branches, because it's all-encompassing.
I'm imbued, Max. I'm imbued with some special spirit. It's not a religious feeling at all. It's a shocking eruption of great electrical energy. I feel vivid and flashing, as if suddenly I'd been plugged into some great electromagnetic field. I feel connected to all living things, to flowers, birds, all the animals of the world, and even to some great, unseen, living force. I've never felt more orderly in my life. It is a shattering and beautiful sensation. It is the exalted flow of the space-time continuum, save that it is spaceless and timeless and of such loveliness. I feel on the verge of some great, ultimate truth.
Our consciousness is not just produced by the brain, and when we feel this oneness, which I think is the basis for action, the feeling ourselves part of this universe, part of the cosmos, and then of course part of life on Earth, that this is not just some fantasy intuition. On the level of the quantum physics, you also find this oneness.
When we look at them from the perspective that consciousness is produced by the brain, well, they seem to sound kind of paranormal or supernatural. But when you look at them from the perspective that consciousness is eternal and is around us, that is exactly what you would expect, really. It would be quite natural for them. So I think what we're realising is we're having a new understanding of consciousness. So to me, this is very exciting. We've got all this exciting research going on, that we are making new discoveries about what it is to be human as well.
I would like to say something still also very practical, to realize that we are one with all of life, that we actually are an interrelated community with all the other life forms. That already is a huge change in our mentality. I mean, we have centralized our thoughts in the center of the universe, which is a big misunderstanding. But to know it is one, but then we really need to feel it and explore it and undergo it.
When you leave, this body goes right down the chute again. It has nothing to do with that. The karma is simply not recognizing that you are part of Adam, you are part of the universal whole, you are part of this oneness. You are not part of a particular religion, social group, part of a nationality, live in a particular place. You're a part of life. We've looked at thousands of years of this. This has not been the way that life should be in this beautiful place. Maybe there is an alternative. Maybe we have been very superstitious because we haven't understood the ways and the writings of the people of the ancient times. Maybe we never realized that there were such things as subatomic particles that are intelligent and move in intelligent ways and think and do all of these wonderful things.
I don't know, we've had this notion that we're all separate and everything, and this materialist view, and perhaps that's run its course now, and we have to look for other explanations, which very much fit with all the ancient wisdom traditions.
We are here and we are connected, and we have to find out, we have to help each other in order to reach our common goal, to make this a better place.
Do you wish for or hope for an afterlife?
Well, I hope this is not it. I mean, is this it?
There is life after Q&A.
I'm told there's life after politics. So, yeah, obviously that's part of my faith. I hope that there's something beyond what we have on Earth. I don't know. I don't think about death that often, actually.
I think there's more to us than this body. I think we are an essence or a soul and a spirit, and I don't think that when our body dies, that dies as well. What it is, we'll never know, and well, we will know hopefully at some point, but I don't know now. And I think my religion teaches me to live the best possible life that I can here and now, and to do the best I can in the world, and not to focus too much on what comes next, just to do the best I can now.
Very brief answer, Tony B.
I reckon it's true, and I reckon Richard's going to love it.
When you say, is this it? How much more do you want? I mean, this is wonderful.
The thing that really lacks in this planet, and especially in the Western world, is the no knowledge of what it is to be a human being. No knowledge that we are an energy being. And the body is just like a shell.
Wait a minute, let me get this straight.
You admit that you have absolutely no physical evidence to back up your story.
Yes.
You admit that you very well may have hallucinated this whole thing.
Yes.
You admit that if you were in our position, you would respond with exactly the same degree of incredulity and skepticism.
Yes.
Then why don't you simply withdraw your testimony and concede that this journey to the center of the galaxy, in fact, never took place?
Because I can't. I had an experience. I can't prove it. I can't even explain it. But everything that I know as a human being, everything that I am tells me that it was real. I was given something wonderful, something that changed me forever. A vision of the universe that tells us undeniably how tiny and insignificant and how rare and precious we all are. A vision that tells us that we belong to something that is greater than ourselves, that we are not, that none of us are alone. I wish I could share that. I wish that everyone, if even for one moment, could feel that awe and humility and hope. But that continues to be my wish.
Your soul fills every part of your human body. It's all of you in that way. It's that speck of light of God that's so tiny, but yet it fills every part of us. To me, that is incredible. And our love comes from that. And sometimes we just say our love comes from our heart because the soul affects the heart in that way. And we must remember, love does conquer everything in the end. You know, it's love, it's understanding, it's compassion, you know, it's justice that brings peace to the world, that gets solutions sorted. So now say to each other, I love you.
I love you. Tak pojďme teď říct každý druhému. Miluji tě.
Thank you, Lorna.
I love you.
Miluji tě. Do it because it's very...
Don't be afraid. I love you.
Yeah. Nebojte se. Miluji tě. Miluji vás.